Hi, welcome back to the C-Files podcast. This week I got another guest. Say your name.
Sorry, Jake. Hi.
Yeah. Now we're reviewing kind of late now. It's been like a year since the movie came out. Tenet, and I asked this because I know you really don't like it. So
It's just terrible. I want to ask, what do you think of it? Are you a fan of it?
I'm kind of like I'm just confused. The movie just confuses me on all the levels because in my brain it doesn't make any sense.
No, I don't know why people like it. I think it's an either you love it or you hate it movie, but I don't know why people like it so much.
Yeah, I mean both plot-wise and just like behind the scenes. I'm like, because Christopher Nolan, the guy who made it.
Christopher Nolan, yeah.
Love all this stuff. Was super excited for this movie, and then this comes out, and I leave the cinema being like, what the fuck?
Yeah, well, you think Christopher Nolan, you think maybe Inception, and you think if he's doing something with time, you just imagine it's going to be something absolutely incredible.
Yeah, he's never done I think I've seen most of his films. I don't think he's never done a film other than this, which I haven't loved.
Yeah.
I'm like, when you get home and you start looking up, you people talking about the movie, and I've got like a bunch of weird theories of why what people think went wrong with this movie,
Right.
varying from what probably seems like the most likely to me is that it's the first time he's ever made a movie and had complete control, and actually that makes yes.
Is that true?
I'm actually looking at the IMDb page. That might be true because all his other films he's written with like his brother.
Oh, yeah.
And this is the first film.
Coen brother kind of thing.
Yes, but it doesn't look like his brother wasn't a writer on this. That might actually have something to do with that.
Ah, I see.
Because visually, I mean, even you have to. It looks stunning. It's a stunning movie.
Yeah.
And whenever it comes to like action sequences, it nails it. But I think it's most. I realized the second watch down, it's entirely the reason it doesn't make any sense is because of character.
The characters aren't interesting, in my opinion.
Well, they're not even trying.
True.
That's another theory that he tried to make. Another theory which seems unlikely, but then there are certain things I would get why you'd think it is because. And the other theory is that he deliberately is trying to make a movie without character, and this is an experimental film, which sounds far-fetched.
Right. It sounds a little far-fetched, but
that's what I'm thinking. The evidence for it is that the main character is called protagonist, and the villain's first name is literally villain.
Yeah, it's pretty shocking.
So I'm like, so that's my only thought that maybe this could be it. Honestly, I really kind of want to see an interview where the interviewer's like, "What the fuck happened?" Because it seems like the rest of the internet's kind of doing that.
Yeah. He hasn't really explained it very well.
No, I will admit, on a rewatch, this does make more sense because I think the reason I didn't understand anything the first time was because, and it's definitely, I'm gonna blame Nolan for this. It's because usually when you watch a movie, right, and you understand something's happening, you understand something's happening, but you also understand why the characters are doing that something, Like there's always, even like the worst movies, there's always a level of motivation, like of character motivation.
Yeah.
There's no character motivation here. In that, throughout the entire movie, he's doing stuff, and theoretically, like a normal person would do it in that it's just the right thing to do, but there's no character reason to do it. You know what I mean? Like, there's no personal there's no for example,
character arcs in it. There's no progression of his story. He's just. Do you know what I mean when I say that?
Yeah,
do you know what I'm talking about when I say character arcs? I'm talking about.
Yeah, there's no he's just a blank slate. He doesn't do anything.
He's just a bit of a boring character.
Yeah, I know. For example, I've heard a way this could even so the opening, which I think is visually a really interesting opening, but makes us very confused. If, for example, a friend of his got shot, and the rest of the movie is him trying to get revenge for his friend and hunt down his killer. That would make sense because then you have a level of personal investment in the film.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of plot elements that are also lost in it, I noticed. It's sort of this kind of hint that it's almost like the afterlife because he takes the cyanide pill, which and I didn't really understand it. And then another time, in the in the first scene, which is brilliant.
Yeah, no,
where he's rummaging
yeah,
through the what's it, opera house.
yeah, something like
It
that.
never really. I don't really see how it ever fits with the rest of the story. It just seems like a random act to draw you in, which is okay. Like
A cold open that
a
works,
cold
but
open, yeah,
it's
which can
usually
work
when
well, but in this case, it just
because
not.
usually cold opens are kind of there to like introduce you to a character, like they're
Yes, yeah, or
but
the
this
thick tones.
yeah,
Yeah,
but this is just not there, which maybe could be an like thing where it's like he's trying to make a film where usually there is character,
yeah,
but like he's just doing the exact same things, but if you walk rid of a character, which is why the opening doesn't is really hard to follow because
yes,
you have no because it's I think they're like on a mission to save like a spy. I think it is from like I think what I've got from it is that the opening scene is there's a spy and and he's the guy they get out they rescue who's embedded with like some looks like some like military guy, and then the
right,
military guy has worked out who the spy is, and then they have to get him out.
yeah,
That's what seems to be happening, but because we have no idea who he is, we have no idea who the spy is, we have zero context for anything. It's incredibly confusing and makes no sense.
yeah. If they gave it a bit of an introduction, it would be better.
Yeah, it would just make more sense. And I mean, I feel like what could be interesting is if, and this would be the only evidence, if this would probably presumably prove that the theory of Nolan making this movie without character,
Yeah,
and it would probably be the only way for him to save face, is if he then released a version of this where there was character, and that like wins an Oscar and all that, and say because imagine like because his other stuff has won Oscars, like he's a
yeah, yeah. No, it's brilliant. It's other
like
stuff.
because I heard this compared to Inception a lot, the
Yes, yeah,
which is a movie I think everyone thinks is incredible. Like it's a and but that
yes.
and a lot I think a lot of people when this was being like advertised, I remember there was a lot of speculation that this could be an Inception sequel, which
It feels like it might be in the same cinematic
like
universe,
yeah
maybe.
that like the Nolan cinematic universe. I mean but that movie it works because there's a lot of character motivation with like Leonardo DiCaprio's character. He's doing it to
Right.
get back to his children because he's been exiled from the
There's no
United States.
stakes.
Yeah, there's like I mean it's like supposedly presumably yes you would do this if given the chance because you have to save the world, but
Yeah,
it's not there's nothing else
it's
there. It's very
overused.
yeah, it's a very bland motivation and it's like well anyone would do that presumably,
Yeah,
it's not
right. What was I going to say? I'm just not a fan of the flashbacks and the flash forwards in films or TV
no same I hate that
at
too.
all. And I think it's Christopher Nolan has a way where that's how he does structure his films. I've seen a video where he explains where he writes all the acts, but then he jumbles them on purpose. And I just think to be honest, I think it's a bit bullshit, really. I'm not a fan. I just think he's trying to.
Yeah, which
What?
I think that can work when in some of the movie he does this. He tries to add twists, and if you want
Yeah,
to add a twist, it does work. But there's a level where you need to stop using it, like or like a movie like Dunkirk. Have you seen Dunkirk?
I have not seen Dunkirk.
Like
That's
that
not. No,
that
I'm thinking of 1916 or whatever it
no
was.
that Dunkirk it jumps around a lot, but that is not trying. I think that's just because it's trying to tell individual stories.
Right. Yeah.
That like and I that's a movie that's another thing where like there's no like there is character in it, but not in the sense where they have like character arcs. It's just like um a study of kind of I like it feels more like a study of uh a person's like the human state, if you will.
Right.
It's what how people react, how different people will react in like drastic situations.
Yeah.
So like it's even when he's there's no specific character. He notices that there is character in a scene, which just seems like the problem with this movie.
Yeah.
And and I watched it again, and I it does make sense to me until the that like big stunt scene where they're with like the fire truck and all that.
Yes. Yeah. You mean the plane?
Not the plane. The bit where there's the cars and they're trading that piece of metal.
Oh, yes, the case.
Yes. Until then, everything I think makes sense because until then, it's not particularly sci-fi related. Like they mention
Right.
sci-fi elements, but there's no
I
like
think,
big, you know.
yeah, I think sci-fi can be a bit easy to write, in my opinion, because it
It's
seems like most of people can just explain and get out of any problem that they want, which is sci-fi. It's my problems with a lot of Star Wars films as well,
yeah,
where
they just add some like
it will
jargon in
just
there
be
to fix the
like,
problem.
say, I don't know, the ship is off or something. This is just all hypothetically, obviously, but so the ship is off or something, and then they need to like keep it. They need to bring back the ship. They'll just end up saying something stupid along the lines of, "Oh, well, we can refabricate the quantum reactor," and basically just come
Yeah,
up with some excuse. And I think it's lazy writing, to be honest.
that seems like a problem that I know I know what kind of things you're thinking of when you say that. In the later Star Wars movies, because
Yeah,
even the prequels, which I'm not defending in any sense, they're terrible movies. But I will admit that George Lucas, the ones that he was working on, which is the prequels and the original trilogy, they don't do that, which I think is why those are better movies. He's
right.
very good. He's a bad director, I would think generally, but he's very good at world building and not doing that.
Yes. Yeah,
But
I
like
agree.
in the later movies, like when you talked about like you know the one by Ryan Johnson where they have like the thing that you can track speed jumping or whatever.
Oh my god.
Like you can't just introduce that without like some sort of information, like or
Yeah,
like some mention that they've been working on this or whatever. Because that's just
yeah.
because I think there was a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes at Disney because I think they like kept just rehiring and firing directors.
Oh god. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
that's never a good
I mean, that's I think
thing.
the biggest problem with all those movies. They just kept they couldn't decide on a director.
Right. Yeah, no, it's pretty shocking, to be honest.
Yeah, so it's me again. It's just I think my general opinion of the movie is that it's fine. I can
Right.
accept it.
It's
I appreciate what it does well, but
yeah,
it's
it's not
definitely
good
his
enough.
weakest movie. And I think and people who really like the technical side of filmmaking or like really like action spectacle will admit it's a good movie in that sense. But if you like character, if there are people who like Quentin Tarantino stuff will hate this because I've noticed Tarantino has really you know his characters are always like the best part of
Yes.
his movies.
And the Coen brothers. Those are my
Coen
two
Brothers, yeah,
directors, yeah.
those people always do really good um character. They're really good writing characters.
Well, the problem is that characters kind of write the story themselves. So when you get rid of that
Yeah,
empathy and
that
relatability, it's just not an interesting plot.
that's but again another reason, and I'm sorry I keep mentioning the theory of this being um the theory of this being deliberately made to be terrible is because a thing you can always tell when the character's bad in like most movies, you know, like the big action schlock that you'll find like there's no is when the defining thing that I try to lead movies by is the difference between things being made to happen to the protagonist and the protagonist making things happen to themselves.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
the difference between The Matrix and the two directors later movie Jupiter Ascending is that in The Matrix, Neo makes choices that then lead on to things happening. Like he makes the choice. Like at the end of that movie, you've seen The Matrix, I presume.
Yes.
Yeah, he chooses to fight Agent Smith, even though he finds out he thinks then he doesn't have powers. He makes that choice, but in
Yeah.
Jupiter Ascending, the character she does nothing. She actually makes like zero choices about the movie. She just think characters say come here or do this and stuff like that, and that just doesn't make a very compelling character.
Right.
But that's not happening here, where the protagonist is choosing to do stuff. Like they are making choices. There's just no real reason for them to be making those choices.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of the and I mean this movie I had like just to keep track I had to write down notes so I could just remember
What
different
the
points
fuck
in
is
it.
going on?
And at the ending, I usually find these videos kind of pretentious because I'm always like, well, you should know if because I'm usually most movies I understand because they
Yes.
have like, but I had to watch the ending explained these for Tenet.
Yes. Yeah. No. That
Yeah, because
YouTube's riddled
which
with them.
didn't help which didn't actually help that much.
Yeah. No.
All that it explained to me was what the metal things that they were trying to get together were, which
Right.
apparently it's a thing called the algorithm, which is a formula that inverts time from something which I think is like an actual like scientific theory, which I
It's the
think
sci-fi
has
thing I was talking about earlier.
yeah,
It
I
sounds
think
like.
it has to do with the reversing of protons and neutrons.
Right.
Don't make me understand. Don't choose. Physics is my worst subject. But I think so. Basically, that's what it is, and the scientist in the future broke the algorithm into 9 pieces, and then inverted those pieces and hid them in the past. How they did that? Please don't make me answer that question. I have no idea.
Yeah.
But that's supposedly what the plot. And then the Russian dude,
Yes.
whose name is Villain. I'm not joking. I was watching this movie, I'm like, what is this villain called? So I haven't wanted to write his name. His name, I'm just gonna look it up again. Tenet and villain name. Villain name, and the villain's name is Villain Sata. The
Oh my
originality,
god.
everyone.
Yeah. No, that's pretty
It's
terrible.
it's lazy. So
Yeah.
so he's trying to get all the pieces together, and then he attaches the triggers to those pieces to his Fitbit.
I don't know why. What makes it even so terrible? Like, I don't understand why the reversing of time. Like, okay, let me explain this again.
Yeah,
They talk about the bullet, when it's like
yeah.
sucking back the bullet, the gun is,
Mm-hmm.
and they say it's much more deadly. How can a bullet going in reverse be much more deadly than a bullet going through a body?
I mean, I think and again, you make a very good point, and the movie doesn't explain it. But they mention radiation a lot, so I'm thinking
Right.
that. But then later in the movie, someone gets shot with an inverted bullet, and it just looks like someone got shot, and they deal with it like someone just got shot, and they have
Right.
like mild radiation poisoning.
Yeah.
So I mean, but again, like
It's very
this movie has
suggestive.
it. This movie did, and this is the only thing it reminded me of The Dark Knight in that whilst it's 12 rated in the UK and it's PG-13 in the US. It rides there are scenes where it does ride the line between that. Like if it went a bit more violent, it could be a 15 in the
Right.
UK. And maybe he really wanted that PG-13 rating, and then Dassault was like, okay, I'll tone it back, and maybe it's something it was supposed to be more. But I don't know what they're doing with it doesn't feel
No.
right. Yeah, you bring up a valid point that I have no idea what's happening. Um,
Yeah.
so it's just like small things like that. It's like it's a lot of just confusion. I don't know why there. Um, Another thing I've noticed in movies is because I've been shooting before, and I've heard how that so when you like people go shooting, they have to put like the big earphones in. I know you can't do that in the UK, but you have to put those big. You have to put on like these really big 3-inch thick like headphone type looking
Are you
things.
talking about directors? I'm a little
No,
confused what
I
you're
mean
talking about.
no, like when like shooting with a gun. When you've done if people who do that,
Oh, I thought you were
yes,
talking about
I can
shooting as in
understand that could be
filming.
confusing.
Yeah.
When you go shooting at like a range and stuff, you have to put
Oh,
on these like
right. Yes, yes, yeah. I
three
do
inch
know what you're
thick
talking about.
earphone things.
Yeah.
And even then, it's the loudest thing I've ever heard. I'm not joking. It feels like, and this is with 3-inch thick.
Yeah.
It sounds like someone is beating every drum on a drum kit at the same time,
Right.
and like you can feel it vibrate through your body.
Have you
So when
shot a
he's,
gun?
I have before, yeah, and like But
And
even
I shot
I shot a small gun, and it was the loudest thing I've ever heard. And the guys like next to me was shooting a handgun, and that's what was making the sound.
Right.
Yeah, it's like that's insanely loud. It's shocking. So when he's in like the small room catching a bullet, I'm like, yeah, you catch that bullet, and then you need 5 minutes so your ears stop ringing.
Yeah, no, that's another. Yeah, you're right. That is a problem. They did that. A lot of problems with The Walking Dead, I think, because they just never really. Yeah, no, they shot very closely to their ears the whole time
Yeah,
in
like
The Walking Dead.
have you seen the latest the Halloween movie that came out in 2018?
No, no, I haven't actually seen any of the Halloween movies.
There's a bit where Michael Myers, where the lady in it, she's like by the door with a shotgun. Michael Myers punches through the door and grabs her head, and she fires a shotgun right next to her head to shoot his hand. And I'm
Right.
like, that's it. Now you go sit down, and then you go to sleep, and then you go to the hospital because you can't hear anymore.
Yeah, or no one ever really jumps that much when a shot is pulled.
Yeah,
Like, not
maybe it's
shot
because
is
they're
pulled.
trained, but personally, I'd be really bad in like an action movie, like motherfuck, that's so
Yeah, no.
loud. Like
Yeah,
Rambo should have like all action stars should just have irreparable ear damage. I'm just imagine that's what's happening. I have
right.
no idea how soldiers do what they do without being completely deaf.
Yeah,
Anyway, that was a tangent I went on because I'm annoyed that that movie. I get it, but it's still annoying that now when I watch movies, I keep thinking that everyone should be deaf.
right.
Just a thing
True.
I do. Um, yeah. So, um, it's yeah. Sorry about the character thing. It's another thing that I did notice though is that every other character except the protagonist and Neil, no, protagonist, sorry, not Neil, the protagonist
No.
and the villain, they all have characters. They all seem to have like there's a the actors behind them are doing something. There seems to be certain arcs to that, you know,
Right.
especially a cat
Cat. Yes, the
the
villain's
lady, yeah,
wife.
she does have a character arc which seems more in line with his other stuff, you know, like
Yeah.
because her whole thing is that she's really scared of her husband. At the end, she kills him, and it's like this big "you go girl" sort of thing. And that's a
Right.
weird way to put it, killing your husband, but it's
Yeah.
kind of
No.
like his whole. I mean, even his whole thing is kind of the possessiveness, which he
Right.
does. I think the actor pulls off well, um, with what
Yeah.
he's given. But her like the first scene she's in, the bit where like her and the protagonist they go to dinner, and they're talking about how I think the reason she won't leave him is because she is an art curator, and he bought a piece of art that she said was not a fake, and then he found out it was a fake and thought that she was trying to like embarrass him, and
Right.
he says, if you leave me, I'll send this to the police, which is actually a decent motivation, I think. But
Right.
the reason I thought it was her performance in that scene was really good was because at the beginning of the performance, when she doesn't know that the protagonist knows as much as he does, she seems very confident and is very like she's very like you
I'm
know.
gonna slightly disagree. I think none of the acting really I was that astounded by in the film, I have to say.
I mean, yeah, no,
Compared to other Christopher Nolan films, like of course The Joker and The Dark Knight.
but that's the thing. Like, I feel like you can't compare anything. That's possibly one of the greatest. That's possibly like if if someone like went through every performance ever and said and rates put the top 10 like performances. I mean, like Joker's up there. Like
Right.
Ledger's performance in there is unbelievable. I feel like that's a performance you're not allowed to compare things to. That's
Right. Well, I feel like acting in older movies I prefer because it's not just good acting. Like you can make someone cry on set and you can make it very believable, but I still won't remember that as much as Samuel L. Jackson's performance in Pulp Fiction, just because of how stylized he was. And I think films where you have an actor who not only makes the role maybe realistic, maybe an actor that may not be believable, but just very interesting to watch is a lot better, in my opinion. So Al Pacino in Scarface, Pulp Fiction. Again, most of the actors in Pulp Fiction are very stylized.
Yeah.
Just do you know what I'm talking
No,
about?
I think so. If I can just clarify, you're talking about how you prefer it when you prefer it when the performance is iconic rather than just good.
Yeah, pretty
Which I
much.
understand. None of the performances this yeah, you seem so it seems like you like movies where the character is iconic and is very big and that
Memorable.
yeah, memorable.
Yeah,
And I think that what it might be is this movie, which I think the acting is very good in this, but I will admit none of it's particularly memorable. Like
no,
there's
I
no
can't really remember any. Also the script isn't that strong either. I can't really remember any iconic lines or anything like that.
there's a
It's just
few I think, but they're all from side characters.
yeah,
The main character,
yeah,
like the side characters, there's a one line that I mean, yeah, actually, no, you're right. There's nothing like particularly like grabbing. It's sort
yeah,
of just. I mean, this movie is like full of exposition. There's like 8 exposition dumps, but however, it still doesn't help me at all. It's still really confusing.
yeah. It's a bit
Uh,
like uh, I can generally remember one interesting line from The Departed, and I know
nor
that
can
might
I.
be a very unpopular opinion. Have you seen The Departed?
Yeah, yeah.
Did you like it?
I didn't love it. Then again, I was doing other stuff whilst I watched it, and it might just be that another thing here where I just wasn't paying as much attention, and that this movie that you need to pay attention to.
I actually think it's quite overrated. I watched it. I mean, it wasn't even as enjoyable. I think it went on for too long. I just wasn't too big of a fan of it. But I think it's actually in the top 50 films of all
Like, yeah,
time.
it's considered one of Scorsese's best movies, and
And I don't know why. Did
yeah, I mean,
Scorsese direct Taxi Driver?
yes.
How can you compare The Departed to Taxi Driver? I'm sorry. The Departed, I mean, I can think of one line, and that line is, "There was a rat," which isn't good at all. It's just,
A lot of talking about rats. Yeah,
yeah.
that might be a movie that I should. The same with Joker. Everyone really likes Joker. And I mentioned this in
Joker. I
episode.
haven't seen Joker, so I can't say
I
anything
didn't.
about Joker.
That's a movie apparently Scorsese was asked to direct, and he was like, "Nah, yeah, we're
Really?
not." Because no, it feels very influenced by Scorsese. It's basically a mix of if you got Taxi Driver and The King of Comedy, it's just that, but main character's wearing makeup.
Right.
Because
Yeah, no,
it's
from what I've seen, it looks very Taxi Driver-esque.
it's definitely a rip off of Scorsese stuff. Like I don't know who wrote it, but they were definitely watching a lot of like 70s New York grunge movies when writing that. Because I mean, I didn't like it, but everyone else did, so maybe I missed something, and I'll watch it again. But I don't know.
Right.
I don't trust other people's opinion very often.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. This conversation about Tenet is just making us talk about movies that we think are overrated.
Yeah. Yeah. What was I gonna say?
I don't know. I mean, this movie, it might just be that I had really, really high hopes for this. Like, I love all the actors in it. Like John David Washington. He's a great actor, I think, and he's an actor where he's son of he's a son of what's his name, Washington, the actor in Malcolm X. I'm
I
sorry.
don't know. I just remember the curb stomping scene from Malcolm X.
Yeah,
Is that Malcolm?
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm thinking of American History X. Am I? Wait, hold on. What movie am
Possibly.
I thinking? It has X in the name.
It might be American History X.
X.
I don't know. I'm thinking of. One sec. My brain's gone blank. He's the main. Oh, I forgot. The main actor in this, the guy who plays the protagonist, is the son of Denzel Washington. Sorry. You know Denzel Washington, right? This is gonna be really
Listen,
confusing.
I recognize the name. Very
He's the
much
guy
so.
in
Wait, say his name again.
Denzel Washington.
Denzel Washington.
I have the same problem where I'm like, I know the name. This person's famous. I just don't know what they're in.
Yeah, I recognize his face.
Yeah, no, he's in a lot of stuff. But so the actor who plays the protagonist movie, John David Washington, is his son, and he's an actor I really like because I feel like a lot of people who are the children of very famous people do sometimes find it hard to get out of their parents' shadow. Like
yeah, true.
Will Smith's children.
I was gonna say, that's really weird because have you seen the sketch about Will Smith's son? It's very funny.
No, what is this?
I'll send it to you later.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny though.
Oh, is it the Key and Peele thing?
Yes, it is the Key and Peele thing.
He's a guy, and apparently it probably doesn't help that he's got a very negative like public image, but he's a guy who's never been able to, I think, get out of the shadow of Will Smith.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just because Will Smith's really famous. Maybe it's just because he's not a just very good, particularly talented person. But like people who I find a lot of actors who are able to get out of their parents' shadow seem to do better in acting. Like Maya Hawke, who's the daughter of Ethan Hawke, and what's his name from Kill Bill?
I was just thinking about that.
Yeah. So
you keep reading my mind. Pulp Fiction poster is right next to me in my room.
What's her name? Crap.
I can't remember. But I know there's a lot of controversy about her actually going in the film because what's her name? Uma Thurman. Yeah. Uma Thurman had a pretty tough time on set. Do you know about that?
I think she broke her arm on part 2.
Yeah, no, I think it was actually a little bit of the Me Too movement from that, I think.
Yeah, it's because because the movie's produced by Weinstein.
Oh, what, Pulp Fiction?
Yeah, all I think every single
Tarantino movie I knew he worked closely.
Oh no. Tarantino's openly said that they he said he's not denied. I do appreciate this from him. He's not doing the thing that actors do where they'll find you'll find out one of their friends was controversial and then they'll deny they ever knew them.
Tarantino I saw him on the Joe Rogan podcast. He was pretty open about it.
Tarantino said I knew the guy, and I mean he did mention, and I think this is probably true about that he was a guy who you didn't want to. He was very used to getting his way. Yeah. And I think Uma Thurman has come out and said that she did harass her a lot. I don't know the specifics of it.
Neither do I. I think she was also forced into a stunt that she wasn't too happy with. Have you heard?
I don't know about that. I mean, I do know she was
car crash. I can't recognize.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. No, that wasn't a stunt. That was a thing where in part 2 when she's driving to that guy in the jungle. You probably remember it. That wasn't a stunt. That was, I think, just that something went wrong and the car she was driving crashed. That wasn't.
Wow.
I think that was just a driving expert's fault. That wasn't Tarantino or anything. That was just.
Right.
And I think apparently everyone, even he does regret. I think that's the biggest regret of his career. But I think she seems okay about that. I think that there's nothing terrible happened there.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry about that tangent.
No, that's fine.
Yeah, but Uma Thurman's daughter and Maya Hawke, she's another actress. And she's in Strange. She's season. Do you watch Stranger Things?
Yeah.
And in season 3, the lady at the ice cream thing.
Yes. Yeah.
That's Maya Hawke.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, that's Maya Hawke. And Maya Hawke, she's in Fear Street, which just came out, and if you like horror movies, I would definitely recommend.
I recognize that. I think I've been scrolling through Netflix and seen it.
It's this new. If you like horror movies, I would absolutely recommend it.
I'm more of a fan.
Yeah.
Just said fan of thriller, to be honest. I think thriller is just such a superior genre.
The thriller is a very good genre. Again, I mentioned this in the next episode with me and 4D have reviewed Friday the 13th, and I don't know if I'm gonna release it. I'm releasing that. That's coming out Friday. I don't know if I mean today when this is being released, or I mean last week when I might release this. Who knows?
Actually, can I ask, where do you release this? Is it YouTube?
It's on YouTube and Spotify, but on delay because I'm really lazy about releasing on Spotify. I should do that more.
What's your name?
YouTube, it's the C Files, and I think Spotify, it's just the C Files podcast, because that one's just the podcast, and the YouTube channel has other stuff. Yeah.
Right.
But just you see, so anyway, so yeah. Basically, the end of this tangent is actors who get out of the shadow of their parents to do better. Anyway, this is a podcast on Tenet. We should probably get back to that.
Yeah.
I think the reason we're doing so many tangents is, I'm sorry, Nolan, there's not a lot to talk about your movie. Not very good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what I think. Actually, no. Next episode, whenever this comes out, is either I'm doing two things with 40, and it's one of those two things. It's either an episode on Friday the 13th, but if that's already been released, it's gonna be an episode on Get Out. So that's what's up next. That's what's up next.
Right.
But yeah, this follow us on the C Files podcast. And as Jake mentioned, we're on Spotify, on the C Files podcast, and apparently we're on other stuff. Anything that Anchor puts me on, I don't know what Anchor puts me on, but it puts me on places. If anyone knows what that is, please send it to me, because I have no idea. But I'm apparently on those places. I know I'm being very vague, but yeah.
Right.
This has been the C Files podcast. I'm Luke, and see you.
Goodbye.
Next episode. Hi, this is Luke. If you like that video, please like and subscribe, and click the bell icon for notifications about new videos.